Good evening out there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fred Bucker with RSN Radio Sports. I'm here with Marshall McPherson, hours removed after tonight's 5-1 loss to the Minnesota Chiefs. Marshall, it's been a while since you last did an interview with any radio program. Is there any reason why? Well, Bucker, I've been busy with training regimen and GM duties, scouting the juniors, keeping an eye on who we might possibly be selecting. I know we don't have many draft picks, but it's always good to have a good scouting list and draft sheet of who you plan on taking if somebody drops, or if you want to take a chance on a late round flyer, or if you manage to trade a player at the deadline, or anything of that sort. If you happen to have a draft pick come to you somehow through a trade, I'm not saying that's going to happen, or if anybody's going to get traded, but you don't know these things. So having a good draft list together is priority, and as well as keeping an eye on the lines and the coaching duties and all that. Just hoping the lines click, and hopefully get some pucks in the net from each line, and that's been a little bit of a point of frustration for me so far. Yeah, Marshall was about to touch on the production of the Nightmare this year. It's down from last year, but you seem to have found a few combinations that are working out pretty well, particularly with Raycroft, Hawkridge, and O'Keefe. Well, Fred, that was a blessing. Just dropped right into my lap, really. Simmons was out with injury, so I moved Hawkridge up to the first line to see how he clicked with Raycroft. My original plan was to move Stamkos up there to see how he would fit in, as he has a pretty good build. Hawkridge and Stamkos, they're pretty much built the same way and sort of the same style of players, so they could interchange. But I put Hawkridge up there, and him and Raycroft have been clicking pretty much every night for a point or two each. So, I've always been a fan of the "don't fix it if it ain't broke" sort of philosophy, and that's what I'm going to stick with. I'm going to keep them together until they stop producing, and then when that happens, excuse me, if it does happen, well, I'll have to find some other combination, and hopefully we can get some production out of them as well. O'Keefe's a big boy, and he opens up space on the top line. I've been considering moving him down to the second line and seeing if he can provide a spark with Chicklets and Simmons, or Stamkos, or whoever decides to be on the left wing. Because the second line, it's got too much talent to not be producing, and with Chicklets and Simmons there, you figure that you should be getting a couple goals from them, but they haven't been meshing too well, and hoping O'Keefe down there would pick things up a little bit, maybe move Stamkos or Simmons to the top line, just shuffle things around, see what works. The other bit of production that the team's had is from the rookie line. Yeah, I have to say I'm pretty happy with results so far. At first they had their struggles, they're just getting adjusted to SHL life. And Perhonen, Koenig, and Duddy had just been, pretty much gold lately. Each one of them are in the top 10 for rookie scoring. Duddy's, I think, 5th. Perhonen's 8th, and I think Koenig's 10th. That's pretty good to have three of your rookies in the top 10 for scoring. Perhonen's been on fire lately, 3 or 4 points in a couple games. He just got to work on his consistency. Since moving him over to left wing and putting Koenig at center, it's been wonderful. They're pulling in points. Duddy, I see him going places in this league. He's built to contend. He's a good goal scorer. They all got to work on their endurance and getting their bodies ready for a long SHL season. That's why I try to limit the ice time to 16 to 18 minutes. A little bit less than the older guys who are more used to the grind. But I think they're doing well. Well, the other production that's kind of unexpected, Marshall, is from Jack Crasher. Yeah, it's been surprising. The guy's chipping in and getting goals, getting points, throwing hits. He's one of the oldest players on our team, veteran. I think the defensemen look towards him for leadership, and he's there every night. He goes at it hard, and he doesn't stop. He's been a mainstay on the blue line now for season after season. When I was in juniors, his agent was our GM, and I watched him in the big leagues, and he was good then. Last year, when I was in my rookie season, he was good then as well. And I don't know, it's kind of weird that he comes out and has a breakout year this late into his career, but he's finally breaking through, putting up points, and it's just a matter of finding the right defensive partner for him. Him and Dew, I figure, Crasher's good, responsible, and with defense, and I figured Dew would be able to get up ice, join the rush, and put up the points, but it just hasn't been working so far. So I think I might end up putting Dew with Weird to see how that works. Well, yeah, Marshall, that's another thing we were going to touch on. Your friend Chuck Weird was brought in from the Jets, and he seems to be a quiet sort of fellow, but he's turning into a defensive monster. He's one of the best defensemen we've ever seen. Checking, he's excellent at for such a young player, and his positioning defensively is unreal. He's obviously got to work on his endurance and strength, but he looks to be a mainstay on your blue line for years. Well, Fred, that's exactly what I was looking for when we brought him in. I was interested in getting him from the Jets from the time Burke and I discussed myself taking over, and I knew that our blue line would need a defensive defenseman eventually. Not just because he's a friend of mine, but because of the way he plays and his reliability. I've given him a lot of responsibility for defensive play, the penalty kill, and such. We need him there for that sort of thing, and we needed a big bruising defenseman. And this guy, 6'10", 280 pounds or something like that. When he hits you, it's going to hurt, and he's got the wingspan of an albatross, so that doesn't hurt at all. He just got to work on his game a bit more, and he'll be playing a lot of minutes over the next couple seasons. So here's hoping that he won't get worn down too much. Oh, speaking of a player that you guys know well, Ajax McFallahan. Yes. He was on waivers, and we needed a backup goalie in case, I'm not doing so well some night, and we need somebody to come in and do cleanup. McFallahan, the guys in the locker room know him. They don't necessarily like him a hell of a lot. He has an on-caring attitude towards the team, but when he gets his spot starts, he's one of the best backup goalies available, I think, and, I can't fault him for that. 2 seasons ago, he managed to get the the Ice Wolves into the playoffs, and, he kind of let them down. He just doesn't seem to care. He's the type of player that, once he got his paycheck, he's out the door. And whether he wins or loses, that's entirely up to the team, I guess, is his view. Well, Marshall, you seem to be entirely different in that aspect. You seem to care about winning and in training. But lately, there's been a few players notice you haven't been in the gym as much lately. Well, like I said, Fred, it's been tough finding time to get there. Like, I'm still trying to train, still trying to get to the gym every day, But unless I'm on drugs or something to keep me awake 24 hours straight, you really can't do that. And you gotta find time to schedule and. You know what I mean? It's frustrating at times because, I want to get in there training. I want to be the best I can be at what I do. And, if you don't have the time to train and GM and scout and look over the lines, he was clicking. It's just, it's overwhelming at times. And I'm getting back into the gym now that I got things started to be sorted out. I've handed over a few responsibilities to other players on the team just to take care of. With O'Keefe and Perhonen. They're big fans of the Kelowna Knights, and they go down there every weekend, keep an eye on the games and the players, and they see who's playing in juniors, and they've been doing the scouting duties for me, so that's one less thing for me to worry about and frees up some free time, so that way I can, I can start training harder and hopefully go from there, make it into the playoffs, and make another run at that Challenge Cup. Well, Marshall, that's about all the time we have for this evening. Thanks for the interview, and you have a good night. Not a problem. Fred, you have a good evening yourself.